This is the reading of Michael Jackson's chart. I have it up here. I want to take a look at it from an astrological perspective. So let's just get into it. We have a Pisces rising at 10 degrees opposite the sun. Moon is at the ascendant, meaning that this person is a full moon person. Sun Virgo, Moon Pisces. We have the opposition right now, actually, as the leader of Canada's Liberal Party and the Prime Minister of Canada is a opposition Sun and Moon in the mutable signs of Pisces and Virgo. It's opposite for him, Mark Carney, but interesting. Interesting indeed. We have the nodes coming through Pisces and Virgo as I record this, so pulling in this energy is a little bit easier at this time. I am also a Pisces sun, so I'm quite familiar. Now, the moon is at 14 degrees, the ascendant's at 10. There is a very powerful spiritual portal in the 11th degree of any mutable sign. And that I can say is just from experience, just from reading other people's charts. It is a very powerful degree. He was born with the ruler of his chart. The ruler of Pisces is Jupiter, and Jupiter is sitting in the eighth house from his ascendant in Libra at 28 degrees. What does that mean? Well, anything that Jupiter is doing and touching is going to affect the type of ascendant that you are. So Michael being a Pisces rising with the moon in the first house, there's already a very spiritual kind of vibe to it. But these spiritual vibes will show up in the process of creating harmony, in the transformational process of legal order, huge spiritual karma when it comes to legalities, debts, spiritual debts, fears, the powers that other people have over one's identity and freedom. We see that a lot with people who are in like conservatorships. There's a big focus on Libra energy throughout the chart and Venus as well. Jupiter is not alone in this chart. It's conjunct Neptune. This is a big catalyst for understanding his voice and his talents. His identity shows up in the first house. The description of the chart ruler, the ruler of the ascendant, tells you more detail about what kind of Pisces rising this person is. And for this specific Pisces rising, it was always going to be focused on the transformative process between partnership and how one's influence creates transformations in oneself. That's because it's sitting in the 7th, 8th house, in the 7th and 8th sign. Neptune is sitting at 2 degrees of Scorpio at the very beginning of the sign. Jupiter is sitting at 28 degrees at the very end of Libra. These planets are very, very close together, although they're in different constellations on the tropical zodiac. They are close enough together that they're energies are fused. Now, Neptune and Jupiter generally have a very similar vibe, and the vibe is actually associated with Pisces. So this very much creates a double down kind of Pisces frequency. And what is Pisces? Pisces is a mystic. Pisces is a magi. Pisces is the imagination. It's the ethereal realms. It's spiritual travel. It's transcendence, non-attachment, playing, and then living in the forever child is also something that you get a lot with Pisces. Pisces is also the sign of endings and transmutation. We see this because it's associated with the last sign of the zodiac. So this is where things come to finish or complete, and evolve, transmute. Jupiter is the great expander. In traditional astrology, Jupiter is the planet that associates with Pisces. It is the largest of all of the planets. It's a big gassy giant. It has the most amount of moons, and it is known for its bright luminescent energy. Jupiter in astrology speaks of grandness, grandioseness, almost a the way that you see growth happening on a multiply itself kind of level. When we see things that are contagious spread, we see that through a Jupiter lens. We're seeing it through influence and through contagion. That is something very regularly associated with Jupiter. So drinking and magic, manifestation, faith, hope, religion are all associated in the Jupiter realm. Neptune is known as the higher octave of Jupiter, being that it has a very similar type of stories with it. Although we see Jupiter more associated with Zeus frequency, and if we want to talk about the Greek mythology, Zeus's brother Neptune, and the frequencies that they share are very different and yet have many similarities. Both very potent, both very powerful and influential through the subconscious. Neptune's known to have more of a dissolving factor, where Jupiter tends to expose. So we have those energies actually working together in Michael's chart in the place where Libra is becoming Scorpio. Libra and Scorpio, the 7th and 8th signs, is where partnership becomes merging, trusting. Two individuals become one. We have fears show up here. We have insecurities show up here. We have people having power over us show up here. These are all major themes with the kind of Pisces that Michael would have been. Michael also had the North Node in Libra, very close at 23 degrees to that Jupiter, giving him an even more echoed, expansive, loud identity when it comes to the way he connects with others. The loudest part about his personality and the way he identifies is actually associated through other, okay? So that's seeing it through the lens of how I am now that I'm in connection with this person, or what do I offer to this person, or what does this person offer to me? We find this a lot with 7th house people. 7th house people with the sun in the 7th house have a very relatable, reactionary form of identity, especially in the early years as they're still trying to figure out who they are. With Michael, not only did he have a heavy 7th house and having all of this energy up in the right-hand quarter of his chart, this quarter, the 7th house, the 8th house, the 9th house, and even the 10th house are all associated with how the rest of the world affects you. And so when there's a lot of planets in the 6th, even in the 5th house, 5th, 6th, 7th, that part of the chart, the part of the chart that's away from the ascendant, that's centered by the descendant. The descendant is where you're meeting the rest of the world, the part of you, the identity of you that is for other people. These parts of his chart were very large, very, very large. His identity will be formed from his environment much deeper than it will be from his own relationship to spirit or his own relationship to himself and his physical body. Actually, with someone who has so many planets out in the 6th, 7th, and 8th house, one is not in their body very often. We see this in face reading with people having hollows in their cheeks and around their temples. They may not have as much connection to their physical body, and therefore are connecting to their identity through connection to other people, partnership, relationship, friendship, and even living house situationship. With Michael's chart, the 7th house was very full. It had the sun, it had Pluto. It also had his part of fortune. So he meeting people and being this, for lack of a better word, devastating, life-changing energy. When people met Michael Jackson, regardless of his age, it changed their lives, and it changed his life when he met people. He immediately learned something new about himself. That is a 7th houser. And having the Pluto with the 7th house, meaning that what connection he had with his overbearing, domineering father definitely is something that he attaches and gains identity through other when it comes to power dynamics, okay? Michael was known to be a perfectionist, and the power that he gained through telling other people and controlling other people gave him a sense of identity. And that's the Pluto sun in the outer hemisphere of the chart, especially in the 7th, 8th house, or even the 6th house. Michael's chart also had Mercury and Venus and Uranus conjunct in the sixth house. This made him a power worker. This made him an innovator. It made him a leader in many aspects, a creative mastermind, and that was his natural state. Being able to just naturally be a manifestor and create beautiful works of art that have never been made before, or tap into the universal collective energy and be able to connect with so many people on such a wide level. That was his natural state of being. That was his God-given gift. That was real. Okay, 100% laced in the chart in the Leo house in the sixth. His impact, his creative wheels that he spun in the sixth house were seen and echoed through the impact that his music had in that seventh house sun Pluto. Musicians having a heavy seventh house means that their resonance, their vibration sticks and physically holds in other people more than it holds in themselves. Michael's identity, Michael's personality was way bigger than himself. And you see that a lot with people that have these type of lineups. I see also he has having a sun in a Mercury ruled sign like Virgo. Mercury rules over the sun from the sixth house, killing the ego. Okay, so again, Mercury sits in the natural sixth house, but it is 12 houses away from the sun. The sun is the ego. Michael had to kill his ego every single time he created anything in order to release it and create the powerful influence that it had on other people. But I'm telling you, in his creative process, he had to strip away protection. He had to go raw every single time. And that was part of his genius. And it's honestly part of the signature of his music. If you look at the lyrics of things that he's written, it makes a lot of sense. He really did go deep. Even if there was like a poppy sound to it, there was a depth there. Now, I do want to speak to some things. People really talked about how Michael, there's all these theories that he had sexual relations with children. I honestly, he has Mars in Taurus at 22 degrees, squaring Venus in Leo, the sign of the children. Yeah, there were definitely lines crossed. There were definitely blurred lines crossed. But I don't think there was ever anything forcive or aggressive. And in many ways, this was an ancestral trauma that was transferred over. So what he did with children would have been an echo of what was done to him as a child. Saturn being at the top of his chart with Sagittarius, I can honestly say he was never going to get away with it. It ended with him. All right, so that's my read up on Michael Jackson's chart. I do want to talk to why I brought this up. I was watching a video about Blue Ivy. I recognized her big Virgo frequency and I had to look into her chart. And it turns out hers and Michael's chart are laid out in a very similar way. And it's not surprising at all when you look at their fathers. And you look at Michael Jackson's father and Jay-Z, we have very similar men, very similar frequencies. We have Pluto Sun. Dad is dominating, dad is aggressive, and dad is all focused on the material world, because in both cases, with Blue Ivy, she has a Pluto Sun in Capricorn. Michael had a Pluto Sun in Virgo. These are the same type of men who look at their children as industry. They look at their children as money. They look at being a father and raising something as a power source, okay? It doesn't have that same light frequency. Now, there are ties between Michael Jackson's death and Jay-Z and P. Diddy, and I had to look into it because in many ways, with Michael having Saturn at the top of the chart, anyone who tries to screw him over will be publicly put on the stand and utilize, like it will come out eventually. Anyone who tries to fuck over someone with a high Saturn will be publicly exposed for it. Now, Blue Ivy has a buried Saturn. not the same situation. She doesn't have that same spiritual protection that of karma. She's going to get away with things that Michael never could get away with. But I do believe that we have very much a similar frequency between these two. They both have water moons. They both have earthy suns. They both have sun conjunct Pluto. They both have Mercury beneath the sun, meaning they have to give up their ego. They have to kill their ego a little bit in order to create, in order to use their power and affect other people. That is something we will learn about Blue Ivy. We will learn in time that she was actually like a preacher. She was in there inspiring everybody, getting them closer to their higher God and connecting them. You'll find out about it eventually. I will speak to the fact that they have opposing Venuses as well, almost exactly. It's like 5 degrees off. So they think the same. Blue Ivy has parts of her that are of the same frequency that Michael Jackson would have had, and I'm telling you right now, it's gonna piss off her dad so much. Mars is also at that same earthy energy of 21, 22 degrees. The connections are not accidental, and I do believe that Blue Ivy being just exactly as she is a karmic connection to her father, Jay-Z. Anyways, that's my rant about these two. I'm gonna go back to work. I hope this reading gave you something entertainment to chew on. Have a nice one. Talk